Once again, I get to introduce you to my favorite student, good old Anne. Quiet, please. Shh. Thank you. Good old Anne Serkey. So each one of these is going to be worth 2 marks. You're going to get a half mark for writing down the original equation, half mark for rewriting the formula, half mark for the numbers, half mark for the answer. It's going to look like this. They want me to find time. I'm looking for an equation that has a VF, a VI, an A, and a T in it. If you wrote down VF equals VI plus AT, that gets you a half mark. If you then rewrote it, how would I get the T by itself? It seems to me that I would drop the VF down like a domino. I would subtract the VI because the VI is adding to the T and I do reverse BEDMAS. I would divide by A. That equals T. If you got that, or if you went straight to that, I would give you 1 whole mark. Now we're going to plug in the numbers. V final is 24.6. V initial is 3.2, all over 2.5. Is this a fraction? Yep. Is there more than one thing on the top? I need to put the top in brackets or use my fancy schmancy fraction button. Is there more than one thing on the bottom? Nope, I don't need to put the bottom in brackets, although you can, but I'm not gonna. Do y'all get 8.56? Units, seconds. If you got that, you get 2 out of 2. Otherwise, I would give you half mark for that, half mark for that, half mark for that, and a half mark for the answer. If you skipped some of those steps, but you got the correct answer, 2 out of 2. Although on a test or a quiz, I don't skip steps usually. Yes?
2 questions.
2 answers.
If you put 8.56 with no seconds.
1.5, I'm taking a half mark off, and you can go work for Verizon. Yes? And
then it's all specifically so.
I tend to go to 3 sig figs. If you wrote 8.6, I'd give it to you. But if you wrote 9, I'd probably take a half mark off, and I'd say, let's not go crazy with the rounding off. Good habit is final answer 3 sig figs. Question 2, I'm looking for an equation that has a VI, an A, a T, and a D in it. It's this one, D equals VIT plus a half AT squared. And where you want to be by the end of today is you want to be able to find the correct equation. Also, it would be nice if you're comfortable rewriting the equations, but that's still going to take some practice. I get it. I need to get the D by, the D is already by itself. That's a bonus. So I can just go straight to plug and chug. It's going to be negative 8.5. I guess we started out going backwards. Times 19 plus 0.5 times 2.5 times 19 squared. Negative 8.5 times 19 plus 0.5 times 2.5 times 19 squared. And if you've listened to me and you've got a good calculator, you can type that all in one line, and you can kind of see what you've typed, backspace and edit, check for typos before you hit equals or enter. Is it 289.75? I'm going to write 290 because the third sig fig would be this 9. Is this 9 going to stay a 9 or become a 0? It's going to become a 0, but that'll bump that 8 up. So I'm going to write 290 units meters. If you wrote 289.75, I'm not taking marks off, but I am saying there's going to be long answers with like 15 decimal places. 3 sig figs Marley is good enough. Okay? And again, this time I would give you 1 whole mark for that because by finding the equation, you automatically got the D by itself. Half mark for the numbers. Half mark for the answer. That's going to be my setup for the rest of the quiz. Half mark for the original equation, half mark for rewriting it if you need to, half mark for the numbers, half mark for the answer. Spence?
I did this one, but I completely missed the power at the end.
So 1.5. And then I will mock you mercilessly as well for the remainder of the year. Just to help you, make sure you don't make the mistake, right? I'm looking for same equation as we just wrote. D equals VIT plus a half AT squared. This is probably the most difficult equation to rewrite. Liam, what am I trying to get by itself in number 3? What has a question mark next to it? I'm going to be meticulous because I know this one's tougher. I'll put the dot there, which reminds me, drop the D down like a domino. I'll eventually divide by this T, but reverse BEDMAS. I'll do my adding and subtracting first. This is adding to the VI, so I'll subtract it. Except what's a better way to write a 1/2 0.5 minus 0.5 AT squared, all divided by T. That equals, oh, actually, Liam, do you mind? I'm going to put the VI over here because this is where we're used to seeing it by itself. Again, you can memorize all of these or learn to rewrite them. It's better. It'll take practice. Negative 70 minus 0.5, negative 4.8, 24, Spencer, don't forget the squared, divided by 24. Is this a fraction? More than one thing on the top. I have to put brackets around the top. Negative 70 minus 0.5 times negative 4.8 times 24 squared button. Close off the top, divided by 24. I got a typo here. Negative 70 minus 0.5 times. Also notice there's a difference between what a negative sign looks like on your calculator and what a subtraction sign looks, and you can't use them interchangeably. You get 54.6833, is that right? So 54.7 to 3 sig figs? And if you forgot the units, I would take a half mark off, meters per second.
Yeah.
Number 4. This one is, I think, VF squared equals VI squared plus 2AD.
Yeah, that's right.
I need to get the VF by itself. It almost is. I need to get rid of a squared. How to get rid of a squared? Square root. And so I'll get VF equals big square root 28 squared plus 2 times 9.8 times 152. By the way, dumb trick that I learned from a math prof that I do now all the time, where my square root ends. You notice I do a little down line right there. That's just so I know that's anything on the other side of that is not inside the square root. Just a habit. 28 squared plus 2 times 9.8 times 152, square root of that. No idea what the answer is. 61.3. Units, meters per second. Number 5, same equation. VF squared equals VI squared plus 2AD. But now I want to get the A by itself. Okay, I'll put a little dot above the A. The VF squared is going to drop down like a domino. What's right next to the A? 2 things, a 2 and a D. They are multiplying. I'll divide by 2D. Remember that, remember that, remember that. There's also a VI squared. What's the VI squared doing to the A? Well, it's adding, so I'll subtract it. And again, Jaden, the order is reverse what? Reverse BEDMAS. So it's going to be minus VI squared, then divide by 2D, and that equals A. I noticed that V final is smaller than V initial. We're slowing down. We're going to get a negative acceleration here because we're slowing down. I'll expect that. I won't freak out if I get a negative. I'll say I probably typed this in right. 22 squared minus 40 squared all over 2 times 96. Is this a fraction? Yes. Is there more than one thing on the top? Brackets around the top. 22 squared minus 40, don't forget the squared, divided by, is there more than one thing on the bottom? Yeah, brackets around the bottom. I get negative 5.81.
That's what I got.
Units, it's an acceleration. Meters per second squared.
Yeah.
Now you'll notice on this quiz, I gave you the correct units next to the question mark. That won't happen again. I'll expect you to know what units go with what. Okay? I like number 6. Well, it's already on a quiz, so I guess it's pretty obvious that I like it. But I'm also going to give you a hint that I like it.
You really like number 6.
So you may see it in the future somewhere.
It's a bad thing I didn't want to do it.
Mr. Duick, Yeah. how come you didn't write the VIT?
Because
Yeah,
it's
you don't
0.
need-
What's 0?
VEI.
And so VI times 0 is 0. And so you get a special subcase. But by the way, what if A is 0? If A is 0, you get this, which is what we did our distracted driving lab with. That was the first equation that I showed you. I said you didn't know how to accelerate. Couldn't let you press the gas or press the brakes at all. But that was the equation we used on the distracted driving little lab. It's actually a special subcase of that. It's just when A is 0, you're going at a constant speed. I want to get the T by itself. How? Well, the D is going to drop down like a domino. I guess I would times by 2, divide by A. That would give me T squared. Or if you prefer, instead of having a 2 on the bottom, if you prefer to write D equals 0.5 AT squared, and you get the T by itself, you'll divide by a 0.5 and an A. That equals T squared. These two equations are the same thing. They look different, but they're the same. Now I need to get rid of a squared. How to get rid of a squared?
Square root. Oh, you didn't do the hook on that one.
T equals the square root of 2 times 240 all over 10. Could do that one in my head. It's going to be the square root of 48, so it's going to be a little less than 7. 6.9 something, probably?
Oh my goodness.
Oh, so that'd be wrong. Have to add a 1.
6.93? That would give you an error probably on your calculator. Okay, but Matt, by the way, a big part of this, one of the reasons I do my calculator rant is I've learned kids lose so many marks to typos. I can fix that by getting you to get a calculator that lets you see what you've typed on your screen. Go figure, but it works.
So I did all of like the steps correct, but I didn't come up with the right answer.
So you get 1.5 out of 2,
Oh.
right? Half mark for the equation, half mark for rewriting the equation, half mark for the numbers, only a half mark for the answer. I don't really care about the answer. It's nice, but I care about the method.
Yeah, the answer's nice, but
Number 7. D equals VI plus VF times T over 2. I think that's the equation we're going to use. We want to get the T by itself. I have not done this one with you. I don't think I did this with you in the homework either, on purpose. You ready? What do I want to get by itself? The T. All right. Talk me through it. What's going to drop down?
the D.
Okay, so I want you to start to realize I've given you the skills where you can figure a lot of these things out on your own if you don't panic, but just go systematically. Drop the D down. What's right next to the T? A bracket. What's the bracket doing to the T?
It's multiplying.
So how will I move the bracket over?
Put on the bottom. Odd. Odd.
What's the 2 doing to the T?
It looks like it's divided.
So how would I move the 2 over?
I assume not.
And you could put the 2 after the D, but you're used to, in your math class, seeing the number in front of the variable, so I'll write it that way.
Oh,
That equals T. Yet another equation.
that does equal.
It's going to be 2 times 2,400 all over 5.5 plus 20. Is this a fraction? Yep. Is there more than one thing on the top? I'll put brackets around the top. Is there more than one thing on the bottom? Brackets around the bottom. Now, before I hit equals, I'm going to argue, Jaden, I don't think I did anything new here. I was a little stubborn and clever, but I didn't panic. But I think going from this to this, I hopefully didn't teach you a single new skill. It was more of a, I never thought of that, but hopefully that makes sense. Okay. 188?
Yeah.
If I'm wrong, let me know, because I will make mistakes. Yes?
I'm not sure, but I didn't put it in brackets, I put a division sign and then put the bottom in brackets. Is that's still?
So, sorry, say that again?
It was the exact same thing, just instead of like a fraction with a line, the division sign like a normal.
In brackets, though, yeah? Yeah. As long, you still have to put the bottom in brackets, or use the fancy schmancy 2-level fraction button on your calculator.
On my page, I put it in brackets.
Oh, yeah. So you're saying you wrote this?
Yeah. And then just a division sign and then in brackets.
In bracket, yes. We don't like the division sign as math nerds, because from a distance, that looks too much like a plus. Although, by the way,
I don't know what I was thinking.
can you see that's actually a fraction? It's a horizontal line, there's a numerator and a denominator. That's what the division sign came, anyway, their trivia.
No, that's the edge here.
Yes,
I did the same thing that I did number 6. Like I did all the steps, but I did the last step wrong, and I came out with 4,825.
so I'd give you 1.5 if you had the, out of 2.
Okay.
I just also like to point out he had it in
Okay.
It's okay. My guess is you forgot brackets around the bottom if I'm doing to get something in the 4,000s. Okay,
No, I just like, didn't even put something on the bottom.
okay. But you had this,
Yeah, I came with that equation. But
then I'd give you 1.5 out of 2. Last one. Same equation we just did, but now we're getting something from inside the brackets. It's still VI plus VF times T over 2. But now I want to get the VI by itself. Where is the VI inside the brackets? So because it's inside the brackets and I'm doing reverse BEDMAS, I'll tackle that last. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to times the 2 over.
Yeah.
Divide the T over. If you're looking for, in your homework, a shorter way to write stuff, I'll often just do that rather than dropping the D down on the next line. But if it's a difficult one, my first step, we drop the D down like a domino. But here, I'm kind of rearranging on the fly, because what that gives me is 2D over T equals VI plus VF. What am I trying to get by itself? How will I move the VF over now? I'm going to get this. VI equals 2D over T, and then completely separate minus VF, not inside the fraction. VI is going to be 2 times 120, divide, oh, I can do this in my head, 12 divided by 24. 2 times, well, 120 divided by 12 is 10. Negative 4? Yeah. And I'll go negative 4.00 just to go to 3 sig figs arbitrarily, meters per second. Okay. Any lawyering with me? Now is the time. Otherwise, can you give yourself a lovely score at the top of the page out of 16, please?
Yeah,